Hi, good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon from various part of the world. I'm live from Montreal, and we have been seeing there are a lot of cases of monkeypox outbreak, which is happening around the countries. We are live on 116th CMMAO session to talk on this topic. Our next two topics will be on the same subject. We have realized that this is something which is more than just a virus and it's spreading worldwide. The first ever case was being detected in May, and the health industry was again, come back to the same toes to understand what's going on, how rapidly it is spreading, what's going on with the virus. There was soon hundreds of people who were being affected, especially the young men. Uh, the virus is muting more than it is expected. So, what do we understand about this? Our next two sessions are on this. So, I welcome our first speaker today, which is Professor Hussein Bukhari. He's an MBBS and a PhD professor from Pakistan. He has a special interest in pathology. He's a regular member of CMMAO meetings, and he has come forward to talk on this topic. I'm sure his knowledge, his understanding on the topic would enlighten us. Over to you, Dr. Bukhari.
Okay. Okay, I cannot share the screen.
You can share now. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you can share. Okay.
Are you able to share?
Yes, I'm trying my best to share it. Okay. Yes, can you see this?
Yes, we can see that screen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarab, for inviting me on this very important topic. I will try my best to cover the topic. And so many questions were previously asked in this question. The latest news that the World Health Network, this works under the WHO, and there was a meeting on 23rd of June, and in the press release, they are deciding to declare it the pandemic, but still it is a controversy. WHO is declaring the monkeypox a global emergency as a European case surge. So latest news about the monkeypox is up to now more than 3,300 confirmed cases. This is the data up to the June 22 to 6, and in the 42 countries, and about 1 or 2 deaths reported in the non-endemic areas. By taking the immediate actions, we can control the outbreak with least efforts and preventing the consequences of becoming the worst. This is the number of the cases. The first case, as the Dr. Sarab told, came in 4th May. The history of the travel was from Nigeria, and then after about 8 days, this case started rising. But the good news is that the peaks. Graph is going down. It means there is no more risk of this spread. This is the data of the WHO of the diff. This was just a data around about 28th May. This picture will show that after 1 month, on the 28th May, the number of cases was 100. But now if we compare here, after 1 month, the number of cases are more than 3,300. And these are the countries where, and almost the United Kingdom, these are the almost non-endemic areas. 793 cases and 1 death was reported in the United Kingdom. So when the monkey pox was detected, the first case was detected in 1958 in two animals. It was animals, two outbreaks were recorded during this, but the first case in the human was detected in 1970 uh, in the African countries and even in the South African countries. We know that due to global world, this was due to travel and animal import. The first case, in the current case in the UK was detected in the 4th May, the travel history of the Nigeria. And this case was treated specially in the ICU of the London. Now, around about 43 cases. But the interesting thing is that there is history, there is a link of the people traveling from the Nigeria. What is monkeypox? Just very short. It's a rare disease and it is a viral disease. The virus is DNA virus and orthopox virus, similar genus of the smallpox virus. The main family is the poxvirus. That there are two distinct types of the clades of these monkeypox. One is the Central African Congo base, and the other is the West. The why non-endemic country? This was question asked in previous discussion. There, the scientists are thinking that there is a mutation. No doubt it is a DNA virus, but the mutation is slow, around about 1 to 2 pair base per year. On contrary, the coronavirus, this is a rapid mutation because that is the RNA virus. In Nigeria, if we study the history of the Nigeria till 1978, there was no case. But now, up to this 2020, 500 cases have been reported, and I think this is due to 47 base pair total mutation in this case. We have seen that there are around about more than 200 cases in the Congo and about 58 death reported in that areas. Specific mutation is the from these are the minors such as from thiamine to cytosine to thiamine, and guanine, adenosine. So these are the different mutation. Why mutating it? Because there is some link with the innate immunity. I have given this the link. You can study this. The genetic mutation indicate at least two separate monkeypox outbreaks and reverse. So this was the abstract. So you can study. This is the virus on left side. They are the mature virus virions. On the right side, these are rounded. These are maturing electron microscope. I have shown two different areas of the two clades of Western and the Congo countries. Nigeria, this time is taking more interest because the peoples are coming from Nigeria and they are infecting the world. Just the small history that I have already given, and natural history is still unknown why it is from zoonotic area to the animals, but there are certain animals which can affect squirrels. These are tree squirrels. These are some rats. These are dormice and the monkeys. The first cases were reported in the monkeys. That is why the virus name is monkeypox and the disease is monkeypox disease. So these are different animals who can get infection with this virus. The natural host in male is still uh, uh, under consideration, but the R arrow, luckily that the R naught is 0 to 1, it means it is very, very slow growing. So there's no danger, I think, if we take care of. If the same, if the the person is infected, if you are close to the 6 week, that it can be infected, even you cannot touch by the droplet infection. And if the virus is out, it can be viable about 3 hours. Transmission, we have already discussed, could be due to the blood of the animals touching, due to body fluid of the animals, due to the skin, and due to the skin furs, and due to mucus infection of the animals. So transmission can also be done by eating the meat, uncooked meat especially, and the people living near the forest have the history of getting this infection. This is the monkeypox cell. This is the animal scratch or bite, then human to human. Physical contact, very interesting history this time. The person who came on the 4th May to the UK and London, and then the infections are in the young males, and they were all due to male sex with to a male sex. This was first time came in the on the literature that this is, but this is not only the way the infection can spread. Droplet infection, respiratory secretions, and even touching the person's things can cause this one. Human to human infections, that first case, as I discussed, but the peoples are reluctant to give the history of their sexual intact. Anyhow, there are so many other ways of the spread of the transmission of this one. So, however, the longest documents of the chain of the human, um, but why? Very important thing is that why it is spreading from the last 2 years. There were also some cases reported in 2021 and 20. This may be due to decline in the immunity and cessation. I think the smallpox, because we know the smallpox was completely eradicated in 1970 and 80. After that, there is no vaccination of this one. So transmission in the fetus can occur. Yes, the mother can, if the mother is infected, that can transmit the, through the virus through the placenta, but cannot transmit through the male. But the mother should be careful. She can transmit this the children, and we know that children's are low in immunity. Otherwise, case detected, the incubation period is around about 6 to 14 days, but can be reported up to 20 to 25 to 21 days. This depends upon the immunity of this one. The clinical symptoms are divided into two phases. First three phases, the patient will have fever, the patient will have intense headache, the patient will have backache, the myalgia, and intense anesthesia, and the tiredness. Asymptomatic case have not reported up to now. After 3 days, the second case, that is the lymphadenopathy. This is a very important to differentiate the other lesions of the skin like chicken, pox, measles, smallpox. In these diseases, we do not have the lymphadenopathy. So then after that, there is the rash. The rash are mostly on the face, on the palms, on the soles, on the oral mucosa and the genitalia and conjunctiva, in the cornea. And I think we have reported the blindness with the smallpox. When I was in class 1, there was, I think, outbreak of the smallpox, and my mother tied me to and not allowed to go anywhere. And we hear that so many people suffered with this smallpox and got the blindness. Fate of the rash, that after 3 days, the rash becomes macule, then this papule, vesicle, pustule, and then the crust. How the lesions have behaved, the lesions can be thousands, and they can coalesce, make a large lesions, and they even can complicate the cases. Why? Another case is that why peoples who have not taken the vaccine around about age of 40 to 50. I remember I have taken this vaccine when I was in class 4 or 5 years. Due to the cessation of the smallpox vaccination campaign globally after eradication of this, that is why this mutated virus may be. What are the consequences? Good news, that is self-spread, limiting, and it is slow growing, and symptoms can disappear after 2 to 4 weeks. But the severe case can appear in children's and especially in the immunity. Complication can occur depending upon the immunity of this person. The one of the complication is the loss of VN. Mortality depends upon the clades, more mortality in the western area, that is about 11% of this. Underlying immune deficiencies, this is a picture. Some of this is the actually boils very similar to the smallpox, and these are filled with the fluid, and they can, if any person touch to this fluid, that can transmit the disease from one person to the another person, then they become dry. This becomes a pustule. This is the dry case. This case was reported and very severe case in the last. The social media is very common, this disease. I have discussed these are the different diseases, but the physician should take the history, take the clinication very carefully, because the patient can transmit the disease to the physician. The lymphadenopathy is the only important differential diagnosis of this. Sampling, how to take, because I'm pathologist, how to diagnose the case. Very important thing is the appropriate sampling, site of influence, and type of the specimen, quality of the specimen, laboratory test performed. Important is the PCR that we have discussed already in the coronavirus, only and only confirmatory. So many other tests are recommended, antigen, antibody companies are, but the FDA had not still approved. A very important thing, the physician should send the sample from the roof or the fluid of the vesicle or the pustule of the vesicle, or dry crest can be sent. Sometimes the biopsy can be taken, but very be careful, do not put formalin in it, and put only the biopsy sent to this in the sterile press. Again, do the PCR from the, it's not recommended, do not do the PCR from the blood, from the semen, from the saliva, because the viremia is very short limited. We do not recommend these and be careful that the doctors, companies are recommending, and doctors are recommending only and only confirmatory test is the PCR. Sometimes false test, because if the patient is already taken the vaccine, or if the patient has previously inoculated vaccine or recently inoculated, that give the false test. So that is very important to give the results when the patient was infected, what were the symptoms, what were the dates of the symptoms, what were the specimens. So these are important things to give. Now, the diagnosis is only and only PCR. The prevention is better than the disease. So vaccination. Then if the vaccination, I will discuss, there are two types of vaccination. And the vaccination is 85, smallpox vaccination is 85% effective. So the WHO is now managing to re-prepare the vaccine and sending in the area where the cases are spreading. So prevention can be general public awareness that we adopted during the virus, due to the vaccine, and healthcare and bodies should help. But very, very important thing is the vaccine. So this is the vaccine that was taken upper arm. This is one type of the vaccine. These are the two types of the vaccine, very important vaccine. That is one vaccine is ACAM 2000 and other is Geneos. This is this replication. This is a live virus. This is a replication competent vaccinia virus. This can, if the patient is infected, taken this was, can take care the risk of resistance that can spread. Same the myocarditis, pericarditis. We are hearing about the coronavirus vaccine, but the percentage of myocarditis is in 5.7 per thousand, while myocarditis in coronavirus is 1 in 1 about 0.1 million. That is very rare. The better vaccine is on the given the right side, the neos, that is the non-replicating virus. No take care after the vaccine, no risk, fewer expected, and the risk to believe to the lower than this ones. So these, but both vaccines are approved. This is the reaction when after the vaccine, skin reaction, type 1 reaction can boil. This is after day 1, day 2, day 3. These are awareness and the public health awareness, raising the awareness once again, educating the peoples. I still myself say that use the virus. Use this one mask because mask is very very important. The corona has taught us so many things. I whenever go in class or whenever go in any in the public sites, so I also try my best to take this vaccine. So the public awareness, educate the peoples how to pray. Another important thing, educate the people. Do not be panicked because monkeypox is a mild disease and a self-limiting disease. If the immunity is better, you can get better. Policies to offer the vaccine. If luckily, I think I am not hearing, not reading any monkeypox in Pakistan, India, and our closing countries around it, but it is have reported, and I think Indonesia and in the Australia. So reducing the risk of the human transmission is very big. Surveillance is very important. That be careful with the person who is infected, healthcare workers, and household members are greater risk because we are doctors when we deal to the patients. Same we learned from the corona. Then I, after from the hospital, when I went go to the hospital and home, I I changed my cloth and after taking the bath, then I. So this is a similar precaution that we should do. In this way, we can reduce the please handling of the patient, handling the because pathologists in the laboratory should take care of this one. Sampling collection people should be careful. Doctors, physicians should be very careful one. If possible, person previously vaccinated against smallpox should be selected. But the cases has been reported in the previously infected people because the IgG, immunoglobulin can decrease after 3 years. So prevention of the transmission sample is very important. These are the all these awareness reducing the, even the handling of the animals is animal foods. The people who are in contact with the animal should be careful in touching these people. So animal trade should be restricted, and if the infected animal should be quarantined for the 30 days. No treatment up to now. It is symptomatic, good fluid, good diet. But if the case is not getting well, you can give vaccine, the antiviral drugs. This is very, very beautiful, important drug, techno, very mad. And the dose is 600 milligram per BD for 14 days, and this is FDA approved. Uh, it should be ideal drug with the there's well tolerated by the kidney. Another drug, I two drugs. One of the drug is uh, FDA approved, that is 202 doses, and this pseudoephar is not recommended. Vaccinia, immunoglobulin can be given to the people who are immune deficient, especially T cell deficiency. Thank you so much. These are all the references that I have taken this lecture. I have prepared my lecture from these references. And if you know, you are all, you can ask the question if, thank you so much once again giving me the time to express this monkeypox of this, my experience and my knowledge.
Thank you, Dr. Mulazim Bukhari. It was an excellent talk. Can we have question answers from the floor? Dr. Chong, would you like to take it forward? Yeah.
Dr. Bukhari, it's actually very fascinating that in just 1 month, the cases have gone from 100 plus to 3,000 plus cases. I mean, although it's supposed to be quite low transmissibility, it looks like he has a life of his own.
Yes, I think this is the this question was asked also previously. Why they are spreading in the non-endemic areas? One thing is that the people are thinking there that this is mutating. There is some new virus, not the virus that was originally coming from the Africa, Congo was thing. Now I was reading in the literature that one case has been reported in the South Africa. Another thing is that in my idea, I may be wrong, that we are suffering with the pandemic of the COVID. And due to COVID, we are afraid, we are panic, our immunity is, I think everybody almost has suffered this. This COVID may have decreased our immunity. That is why from the last, this is my idea. That is why they are now spreading this towards that. Another is that lifestyle is very important. There can be so many factors. Lifestyle and the diet is entirely different. Environment is very different. Even we are hearing that this is due to people, almost 90% are homosexual in this way. That is, I think, very important factor. That is not we are hearing in other countries. Thank you so much.
Dr. Kuzi, you have a question to ask?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Bukhari. That was very enlightening. And I think you did a lot of research as well. And thank you so much for this. I've got one question and then a comment. And I don't know how, whether anyone here can also help and assist how to answer it. But the question is, I've been asked by the press whether the vaccinations against chickenpox can actually prevent you from getting monkeypox, and I said no. It is only smallpox vaccines that can prevent. So that's the first question. Am I right, or can the vaccination against chickenpox give you a bit of immunity? And then my second question is again also from the press. Apparently, the lesbian and gay community are up in arms and saying that we are now unfairly targeting homosexual men, and how can we dare to use the term male to male or men to men, or and I said this is becoming very difficult because that's the stats that's out there. So how do you want us to convey the message to the public out there, to try to get them to understand who are at risk? How can we say it other way? I don't know. The virus is not telling us, it's not distinguished between, the way that you want to have your sexual encounters and why it's targeting gay men. It's most probably because of the oral lesions and the lesions on the genitals, and then that close contact that you might have. But is there any data that says 90% was men to men, 1%, male to female and to children? I don't know, because this is going to become, unfairly. Accusations are going to come in from the lesbian and gay communities, and that's another type of politics I don't want to get involved in. So is there any answers on that? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Once again, just for a light mode, the corona infected the more the females, and this is infecting the more. You are lucky that 90% are young males suffering. Okay, first question, that smallpox vaccine You know, this smallpox was completely eradicated in 1970 and 80, and there was also even the stopped smallpox. Now they are again preparing, company WHO is preparing it, and they are claiming that more than 85% protection can be seen. And especially they are advising the people who are working, healthcare workers, who are taking the samples, who are taking the nursings, who are the consultants, and who are living near the people who are infected. So there is still no specific vaccine. One vaccine was under trial. The name of their strain is the Ankara vaccine, but still not recommended by the WHO and the FDA. The second question is answer is very complicated, and I cannot give the answer because now I think the person, if we take the history, the person who first came in the UK on the 4th May, history was from Nigeria. Traveling history was from Nigeria. And he gave the history that other peoples who are infecting, they are all taking sex with male to male. I do not think what is the reason behind that. The could be due to, I think, it maybe could loss of immunity or something else, or maybe some direct entry of the DNA virus in the rectal mucosa that may be injured due to this one. I think anybody can give the answer if I have not explained this.
I have just sent a link in the group, and it is a very good read on the monkeypox, which people can read after that.
Thank you, sir.
Talks about the vaccination.
Dr. Kundi, you have a question?
Good morning, everyone. I have a question. The question is that in my infancy, we had been given the smallpox vaccine, but our offsprings didn't get it. The question is that are people who got it in their infancy, are they immune to the monkeypox or not?
Thank you very much, Professor Salma Kundi, for asking the question. I think the people who were taken the smallpox and the age was about, I think, above 50, because they have taken vaccine up to 90, 70 or 90, 80. They are not getting this infection. So I still think if the people who have already taken the smallpox vaccine in the world or in your country, I think there is no danger of getting the severe infection. If maybe infection, that may be mild. I still believe that there will be no infection if you have already taken the smallpox, and no need of the booster dose.
Thank you.
Dr. Atta?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chong. Thank you, Prof, for your very informative presentation. The question is, the case isolated in South Africa.
South Africa,
There
yes.
are no travel history. There are no travel history, and South African CDC and the infectious disease team racing to trace the contact. So till today, we haven't found that contact. So there are no history of man-to-man or other way of sexual behavior on this gentleman. So we don't know what caused him, how he got it. The other issue is the monkeypox is becoming a stigmatizing on the community, especially LTV group. So any idea on that? Or should we change this name?
Dr. Akhtar Hussain, thank you very much. I discussed in my presentation that there are so many other ways of transmission. one of the important ways also contact with the animals. And other is definitely if they ask the history, there will be some history of contact with the animals or with the person close to the 6 feet who is already infected. No doubt there is history of the trans traveling history. But if you remember that when there was outbreak in 1970, there were some cases reported in South Africa, and that the literature is mentioning that this is due to two ways. One is the trade of the animals from Africa to South Africa, and other is the traveling history. I think if you take the history, there will be definite some factor of this one. No doubt, the male to male, human to human homosexuality is not only the way of transmission. There may be some other way of transmission. It was saliva, contact, if you hugging and something else. So if you try to take the history, or the your government or other US authorities take the history, I think it will be a blessing for us and good information that how the monkeypox is now coming to the South Africa.
Dr. Bukhari, the fact that smallpox has been eradicated already and the
Yes.
vaccine is not widely available, I understand it's stockpiled by the US Army for biological warfare. How do you get hold of the smallpox vaccine today? Is it commercially available?
No. It is not commercially available. The WHO has warned that be careful. It is the it can spread anytime to the globally, and the WHO has asked the company to prepared and to supply those area around about 42 to 43 countries in Europe and even Australia and Israel. The WHO is top priority to supply the vaccine to these areas. And the WHO is also advising that the people who are caring, nursing, technician, doctors, consultants, they must be given the dose of, and especially who have not taken already previously vaccinated. It is not commercially available in Asia.
Yeah. Thank you. That was, I think, important. But the perspective is that SARS, for example, just lasted about 9 months and infected 8,000 people. This is 1 month and it's 3,300 cases.
3,000.
So, yeah. So, it's you got to, you can't just brush it aside and say that it's not going to become a problem, because SARS was just
it was rapidly spreading. The R naught was 8.
Yeah.
Its R naught is only 1. And the SARS-CoV was exponentially multiplying this 1 into 3, 3 into 9, 9 to 81. But in this way, it is 1 into 1, 1 into 2, 1 into 3. Another thing, I gave you the history of Pakistan. Pakistan first case was reported in 26th 2001, the SARS. But after 1 month, there were, I think, more than 1,000 cases in Pakistan. But there is danger if we will not take care of public measures, SOPs. If we will not act upon the SOPs, we can, if one patient is there is danger of transmission to anyone.
And one of the interesting things is that, because of 2 years of COVID, and COVID was the gorilla that pushed aside all the viruses. Now that COVID is waning or becoming
other viruses are coming.
Yeah, the other guys are coming back, in a big way. I think the influenza, everybody's trying to regain the lost ground, the ground they lost to COVID. So I think some of these viruses are coming back in a big way, and they are trying to reclaim their territory. So this is something we have to be careful about. Yeah.
Dr. Chong, I am hearing about another virus, that is Crimean fever, Congo fever. That outbreak has taken in the Iraq, upper northern Iraq. And we Muslims are now celebrating the Eid after 2 weeks. and this spread from the animal's tick. So we should all be careful. You are right that the last 2 years were gripped by the pandemic, and now we are out and we are moving. We can get other viruses.
Yeah. So, Dr. Kuzi, yes.
Thank you again. So I also would like to say that I think the most important thing about monkeypox is to teach the public out there the clinical symptoms and make them aware. I think if you can get awareness under the public, you would stop it. It would be, much better than only the doctors knowing about this or only discuss this at high political levels. So for me, the most important thing about the whole monkeypox is bring the public on board, teach them the symptoms, make them be aware, because they will be the ones who would be affected the most. And if they know the symptoms, the clinical symptoms, as Dr. Bukhari so beautifully laid it out, we can teach them that. I think we won't have a problem. And then I want to agree with you, Chong, regarding flu. We are now in our flu season. And I must say to you, for the first time in 2 to 3 years, I am, swamped with flu-like and other respiratory tract infections, viral infections. It becomes now a minefield to decide whether this is Omicron and whether this is flu, because the clinical symptoms are so similar, and we can't test everyone every time. But yes, viruses, I think it seems as if they have a playground now, and they're out there to make the most of it. And we humans are not always aware of what is really going on. Thanks.
Can I get Monica to comment on some of the stuff we just said? Monica, please.
1 second. Sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat that. I had some background.
No, I just wanted you to make some comments on today's discussion.
Oh, sure.
With regards to the political correctness of monkeypox.
Yes. So I think part of the same gender interaction that led to the concern was based on contact tracing from a party that was in Spain. It was a large party. And a lot of the men that came to that party actually may have come from families that also live with women and children. So even though the original contact tracing event from that particular area, and I don't know all the details about it, was traced to this party. Wow. The current feeling is that this is close contact and it is not an STI.
Yes.
And so because of that, and because unfortunately it got identified in a group that has already faced some of the stigma associated with the HIV, is that we should be saying that sure, any group that causes close contact is at risk.
Yeah.
And that especially in some immunocompetent people, that the infection should be mild and it should be recognized and they should be isolated until lesions are completely healed over. So I think that even though we are talking about the same gender, now we had Pride Month here. So there were a lot of parades. There were a lot of events where people could have shared the message through those events. And it was hopefully done very, very carefully and respectfully. But anytime any information about monkeypox is stated on the news, it is with the information that it is through close contact.
Yeah.
And that we need to identify the symptoms. And I really appreciated your presentation today. And I think one of the key points was talking about the lymphadenopathy and that we need to have a high index of suspicion, because you may not necessarily see these pathognomonic lesions, the rashes. And so we have to be able to take that really good history and to have the high clinical index of suspicion so that we can isolate these people very carefully, because we're already in the phase of community spread. What they've done in the US is that they've identified high-risk spread individuals and areas, and they have given the vaccines to them. And one is considered to be safer than the other, as was discussed today. And fortunately, that was approved in 2019. And there's no production issues that I have anticipated, or at least I've heard that has been anticipated, so that there should be at some point sufficient supply. But I think, you know, vaccine equity, vaccine access are the same issues that we are facing with COVID. And I think one of the things that we can see is that with all of our COVID-based fatigue, we still have knowledge. And we have knowledge of infectious diseases. And now we're able to ramp up and utilize the same resources that we have had for COVID, for monkeypox.
Yeah.
Right now, the message is that the average individual is not at high risk. That is what the current statement is, so that you just continue to live your life. But as we progress, and since we've seen these cases multiply so quickly, and as the virus is seen to affect different demographic groups, then that's where obviously it comes to play. Now, I did put a message in because I was searching for a statement about prior vaccination leading to immunity now. Now, we know that the smallpox vaccination does confer immunity to monkeypox. However, like any vaccine and like any infection, it's a ratio of how much immune memory you have, what is the load of viral exposure. There's host factors, there's environmental factors that play a role. So it's not an absolute that, yes, I received the childhood smallpox vaccine and therefore I'm immune. I'm just gonna say is that it'll attenuate the infection rather than you are completely immune. And then the question about monkeypox and nomenclature, it is unfortunate that it was called monkeypox because that was the reservoir it was found in, but it's actually found in rats as well. And there should be named, but I think it's going to be a hard time to rename it because it's already taken traction in terms of understanding and recognition of the name of this virus. I also wanted to make a comment about immune status and lack of infections with being in the pandemic, and how does our immunity change? So I'm going to say that our immunity, illness in general, so I dealt with respiratory illnesses. In the 2 years, 1.5 years, 6 months, whatever time that you were in isolation, you were virtual learning, parents were at home, I saw a marked improvement of overall health. I saw less childhood infections. I saw patients who needed less systemic steroids. They didn't have growth retardation because of systemic steroid use. However, they fell behind on their immunizations, their childhood immunizations. So there was a little bit of lack of exposure to both immunizations as well as infections. However, I don't think that this pandemic has overall caused us to be more susceptible to new and emerging diseases, unless you had a pre-existing condition that already made your immune system affected. Unless this pandemic went on longer, I don't think we've been in this situation long enough. Right now, there's a term called revenge travel or revenge vacationing. Everybody has just gone out and done everything. There's no flights, there's no hotels, there's nothing available because everyone is traveling. And I think that lack of immune stimulation is happening now. I think we've all recovered because some of us have gotten some sort of viral infection in the last, especially 3 months. So I'm not sure about the immunocompromised status of not interacting with others and making us more susceptible to new infections. I don't know about that. So I think those are kind of my brief comments about things that were said today. But I think the information is still evolving and we still need to learn more.
Thank you, Monica. I mentioned that because I read it in Jetelina's blog about this, susceptibility and the viruses coming back and trying to regain their lost ground. So I read it in her blog actually. So that's why I made that comment. Thank you. Dr. Kuzi, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question anymore. I am satisfied. Just one thing, I just want to have clarification. The normal chickenpox vaccine will not give you any protection. Just want to double check on the chickenpox, not monkeypox, chickenpox, varicella.
Yes. Right. Okay, we've come to the end of our time. So thank you very much, everyone. And anybody else?
Can we announce for the next week? That's again, all your questions which have been unanswered today. I think we have a speaker who has done a lot of publications on monkeypox. Is working very, very closely. He's an expert on tropical and emerging diseases, particularly zoonotics and vector-borne disease. So he has agreed. He has done a lot of talks on monkeypox. He's coming next week. He's, I think, from Peru. But I will send the creative and everything, in shortly. But next week's session, to who all are watching this thing, I think same time, same day, same link, everything remains same. Please join. I will announce all the details, but he's a very important speaker. And the best part is he's published a lot of reports on monkeypox, and it has all been accepted, including WHO's and everything. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarab. And
incidentally, Dr. Chong, I've taken my second booster for COVID yesterday.
we in Singapore we have the new one available, Novavax as well. So I had COVID about almost now 90 days ago. So I'll be headed probably for my next booster. I'm thinking of using the Novavax as my second booster.
Second booster. I've taken the Pfizer anyway.
You are mixing and matching the vaccine.
Yes, I've done 2 Pfizers, 1 Sinopharm, and I'm looking to try the
so the guinea pig,
do everything, and of course hybrid immunity with the infection myself.
Okay.
So mix it all up. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you very much, everyone. It's always a pleasure on Saturday seeing everyone. And, my thanks to Dr. Bukhari for a wonderful presentation, and for Monica for her comments, and everybody else for their questions and their enthusiasm, and my fellow Singaporeans all watching as well. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Saurabh.